post-war order, right? Not the post-war order of 1945 to 2020, which is crumbling now, but the next post-war order is replace U.S.-controlled multilateral institutions with neutral protocols and nation stacks. Give the world a third option, not the U.S., which is now falling off, or the Chinese superstate, but something which is neutral. And so, today, India, of course, it's on the outside looking in. It's not on the UN Security Council, or it's part of the SDR. It's a, special drawing reserve. That's because the U.S. wrote the post-war order. Tomorrow, rather than advocating for India number one or something like that, I don't think that's realistic, nor even really arguably desirable. Instead, you advocate for something that is neutral, that benefits all parties. Acknowledge your self-interest, but also work on something that benefits the other guy as well. So neither U.S. nor Chinese nor Indian dominance, but this is the new rules-based order, not something where it's like effectively America behind the scenes pulling the strings, not so subtly anymore, but actually something where you can audit the code because it's nation stacks and neutral protocols, right? So this is how we protect genuinely liberal values on a global stage of free speech and, freedom of contract and rule of law and so on. So outro, basically become the bright sun to the West black mirror, become the positive vision for global technology, leverage our strengths in software, fill the vacuum of the post-war order. While the West is making this dystopic black mirror type stuff, make, the bright sun. With a software strategy, reinvent media, money, manufacturing, medicine, Mars, multilateral institutions. That's, info, crypto, robo, bio, astro, and politico. And win and help win. While the US-China fight, offer a third way, neutral protocols and nation stacks.
Wow. It's left me with a bullish feeling that I didn't know was inside me.
It's rationally bullish. See,
Yeah.
I'm not saying like nuclear weapons existed in the Mahabharata or something like that.
Exactly. It's not that.
It's not
It
that,
seems,
right?
yeah.
And I think the only thing that holds us back is ideological software programming. As I think, when Balaji was talking about it, I was like, okay, there are two things. One is an ambition ceiling, which is, of course, we're not going to be able to do that. Like, how are we going to be a media superpower? I don't know if we're going to be able to produce content that can compete on a global scale. That's not what we do, right? The other is the Indian crab mentality, which is, okay, well, because we come from a context of scarcity, one wins at the other cost of another. And there's a sense that we don't have a civilizational desire to rise like it exists in China. I don't know. What do you think about that?
You want a slingshot mentality rather than a crab in the bucket mentality, or a, like win and help win mentality, even better, right? Where it's your win helps you help me win, and vice versa. Win and help win actually is also the profit maximizing strategy in the long term, because crabs in the bucket don't have much in the way of resources, since nobody has any resources, since everybody who's stabbed. Win and help win is how technology of VC and so on works. On the ambition ceiling, I think a good thing to, something that somebody should make, I'm not sure if somebody's done this, is sort of stop motion that shows, or like a time lapse that shows the descent of San Francisco and much of the US, the rise of China, but also actually the rise of Indians, as well as India itself to a lesser extent, but also a real extent, right? Like those are the three most important like mega trends, plus of course the rise of technology. When you see where you were and where you've come and where the convergences are, it calibrates better. Like if the Chinese, they were making plastic stuff, they had the humility and the realism to understand that that's where they were at that point in time, but they also had the ambition to get somewhere else. That realistic ambition is important, and both parts are important, not unrealistic and not passive, but ambitious. And I think the internet also, by the way, provides that, because guess what? Crypto protects property rights. The internet allows you to find other ambitious people and work with them. So you can teleport yourself out of the physical environment. If it is a crabs in the bucket surrounding, if the folks around you aren't ambitious, you know what? Teleport yourself into the super team Slack or the super team Discord. There you go.
Akshay, I like to look at what's happened to Indian cricket, right? Like to me, it's such a great example. Okay, cricket predominantly, Australia, England, West Indies for a long time, dominant in the sport, had a big share of voice in the culture of cricket also for a very long time. And then in the 90s, India got liberalized. A lot of people got color televisions. Everything started, spreading. Then in the 2000s is when money entered cricket, right? Like the IPL happened, and all of a sudden, way more cricketers were making way more money. It became such a viable way of living. The pie got bigger, right? Now today we have a different cricket team for every format, each of which is completely dominating what they're doing. We have the number one test team, the number one ODI team, the number one T20 team. It's insane. It's because when math reaches that economy, it's inevitable. Where enough people can make money, enough people compete, and enough people get so good that they dominate globally. So I like to look at that as hey, it's possible with the right incentives, and people align themselves around, and the crab mentality no longer applies when not every crab is going to die, right? If you think that there's going to be it's going to be fine inside, you stop pulling people down. It's already happened in cricket, and I don't see why it can't happen otherwise.
Well, the thing is, it's funny because, again, as not as close to it as you folks are, but it feels to me the crab in the bucket mentality is less in India today and much more in America today than it was 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially in SF,
I agree.
right?
Especially in SF, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, basically, the U.S. is just, because it feels like this global empire is gravitationally collapsing, people are getting more and more. And then the crab in the bucket mentality accelerates a collapse, so it's a negative feedback loop. I mean, one way of thinking about it is, and this may be one of the things we should probably generate as content, people fundamentally don't understand that wealth can be created, or not, rather, many people don't understand this. And my number one example of this is, where did we steal all the iPhones from? If it's a zero-sum game, right? Where did Steve Jobs loot the iPhones from?